All right, time to wake up, America. The news cycle is coming at us fast and furious, so we turn to various news outlets to get the facts. At Fox News, we bring you the strongest set of facts and opinions anywhere as they're happening, but that's not what's happening out there in the mainstream media. Donald Trump has called the mainstream media fake news, and they despise him for that, but Trump may be onto something. On Monday, the Washington Post broke what they called a bombshell story, stating that they had anonymous sources tell them Trump gave away classified information to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in his last meeting last week. They were high-fiving each other in the Washington Post newsroom, a smoking gun. We got Trump, but the party was premature, much like Hillary's election night party. Soon it was noted that, A, the info in question that ISIS was attempting to use laptops as an explosive device on airplanes was common knowledge, so the bombshell was a dud, fake news. The very next day, Tuesday, the New York Times delivered their bombshell that recently axed FBI Director James Comey had a smoking gun note he wrote after a dinner with President Trump months ago, and that Trump asked Comey to stop an FBI investigation. Again, high fives in the Times newsroom, parties ensued, until it was also noted that Comey had been sitting on that note for months. Pretty interesting, right? Also, take note of what I dug up today. Unfortunately for Mr. Comey, in sworn testimony on May 3rd, the director was asked if he had been asked to stop any investigation on the Russian story. And here's what he said, and I'm quoting: "It would be a big deal to tell the FBI to stop doing something that, without an appropriate purpose, I'm talking about a situation where we were told to stop something for a political reason. That would be a very big deal." And here's the operative line, guys. Emphasis mine. "It's not happened in my experience." Another bombshell fizzling out. Fake news. A colleague of mine who passed away today once told me, "Be fast, Bolling, but more importantly, be right." The Washington Post and the New York Times, you should be ashamed of your reporting. As for our faithful Fox audience, our motto is, we report, you decide, and that's what we do. It means we report the facts and respectfully encourage you, the viewer, to decide what it means to you. Throw it over to Stephen A. Smith. So here it is. Comey, in sworn testimony to the Senate, says, never happened. No one ever asked me to look the other way on any investigation. Okay. I think he just blew his own story out of the water.
He may have blown his own story out of the water, and I can definitely relate to that. I can understand exactly where you're coming from, and I don't blame you for being critical of individuals or institutions who have made that mistake. That's fair enough. I've been a reporter for over 2 decades. I understand it's more important to be right than to be first, even though I pride myself in being most times. Here's the reality of the situation, however. No matter what entity you're working for, an individual is an individual. Everybody can't host this show. You are. You know, everybody's not hosting it. You can't look at one person who makes a mistake and denigrate the entire institution. And that is what your president has engaged in. And let me tell you why that's
dangerous.
President too. Your president. No, I apologize for that, because I'm not one of those that say that. No, he is my president as well. I didn't vote for him, but he's my president, and that's a responsible thing to do. But it's important to point out that when you're calling out somebody, if he gets away with that, then all of a sudden, what about when a successor comes along? And the kind of license that you give him to circumvent the media, because everybody's fake news, can be attached to the next administration. Be careful about that.
Be careful about that. Washington Post breaking the news, high-fiving, and then the paper record, New York Times, also went to record with this, and guess what happened? James Comey swore it never happened.
I don't think Stephen is getting the big picture. It's not just individuals. It's a whole army of media individuals that are out for blood. They're so left, they're so in the Democrat tank that they are going to attack the president and anything Republican or anything right side in such a consistent fashion that it is an overwhelming tsunami of fake news, attack mode with no basis. So it's not just individuals in this day and age, it's an overall movement. And the movement of the media and academia and the left and the Democrats overall is just Saul Alinsky berserk. So if you can find some individuals who are not guilty of that, be sure you give me a call on that.
Let me bring Ebony in. Ebony, so you know where I found this comment? I went through